podcasting for the Meade Truth in the studios tonight with our special guest, our hero man of the hour, Mark Burnett.
Steve, my friend, how are you this happy Friday?
Sir, I am wondermous, Mark Burnett. I'm so glad for you to come to the studios here to put your podcast on. This is awesome.
I thank you for allowing us to host here, and of course I know
paid for by the
Meade County Republican Party. Yes, that's right. But here at the studios, I think you're getting this put together pretty well.
It's
still got some ways to go, but hey, it feels nice here.
We're winging it right now. I still got to get a producer.
Yeah, well, we'll get there once we. Takes a little time, but we'll get there.
Man, I'm glad you could join me tonight. I didn't get my podcast off today with the regular studios for the Messenger, but we're actually going to broadcast yours live to the Messenger for a reason, because we're going to actually talk about a process that educates the community.
Yeah, so
and I think it's important.
I think what we want to talk about is we talk right now. It's presidential election year.
Yes,
right? And so what happens is. We live in a representative republic,
yes.
Right?
That means we actually are we are a constitution. We're not just a democracy. We actually have laws.
That's right.
And we have different branches of government that hold each other accountable. A true democracy doesn't have all those other things. That's why we're called a republic.
That's right.
Yes.
So and we are, in a nutshell, it's like this. If you had a whole group of people,
yep.
And you said, okay, democracy was, if you have 1 million people in an organization, democracy would say that all 1 million people would have the exact same vote, one vote, each person votes, and when you tally up the votes, whatever the majority says rules, right? In a representative republic, you would say, okay, we're going to have one representative for every 10,000 people, let's say, right? Which would give you approximately, you basically have 100 representatives to that million. And so that means you would have a
Are you losing your mind already?
I lost my mind. Yeah, but yeah. So what that means is you'd have one person per vote.
Yeah.
Right? You'd have 100 representatives that would then represent one vote for every 10,000 people.
Yeah.
And they would go and take the group of. They would take the group of people and they take those votes, and then they would make the decisions based on what their constituents feel and say back home. So they would be, it's their job as representatives to find out, hey, what do the people want me to do? And that's what happens during an election. So when so that's a representative republic. So that's why we have representatives. We also have senators. Back in the day, the senators didn't actually represent the people directly. They represented the states. It was very similar to, you had the House of Commons in England and the House of Lords. So you had those what they call a bicameral legislative body. Yeah. And so we have changed so that now our representatives and our senators are now both basically chosen directly from the chosen directly from the people. Directly by the people. So they are.
That's Arlene sneaking around the studio while we're trying to go live. Yeah. By the way,
hence my distraction a moment ago. Sorry about that. So I saw her face. I saw her head poke out from behind the curtain. I was like,
"So take us down this road, Mark." And thanks for that explanation. So each party typically has a chair in the county, right? I don't necessarily speak for the Democrats, but in the Republican Party, there is a chairman of each county's chair. And so you're tell us a little bit about
I'm the chair of the Meade County Republican Party, and what I do is my job is to organize the party, the meetings, make sure that we have the right positions and people in place. In reality, our job is to find good candidates for positions. Yeah. And then teach them and help them learn how to run for office. And then ultimately fundraise to help them get get elected. That's the key component
now,
of what
the crappy part is because you hold a chair and I hold a chair. Anybody holding a chair, we are 100% in the neutral. Like we don't take sides.
Right.
So in every primary, until we have an elected person,
as the primary approaches, we don't take sides. We should not take sides. Now some do.
Mm-hmm.
And now if we see that. If we think that it's
a disruption to the overall party,
if we think that the candidate is just trying to be a disruptive or not even disruptive, because I mean sometimes disruption is not necessarily a bad thing.
As long as it's not destruction. We had Brett Guthrie on talking about that.
Yeah,
there's one thing to be disruptive,
but to be destructive, it's a problem. So
absolutely.
So the party does have to watch out for destruction of the party, and we want to maintain our principles. And if we feel like somebody is not 100%, or is looking to destroy a party or be destructive, as you said, then we might get involved to say, okay, this person's not.
You need to stop. Right.
But however, I mean that's a very rare case. We typically want to stay neutral, and one of the things that I ask of the party, of the party leadership, I should say, anybody can. We don't tell anybody that they can't go support a candidate that they really like. But we do ask that, hey, if you're going to be active in it, recuse yourself from the party, so that you're not making monetary decisions about where we're spending money and things while you're supporting a candidate directly. Because our job as a party is to get Republicans elected.
Yeah, that's right.
And when there's two Republicans or two or more Republicans that are going after a single position, our job is not to get involved in that and pick a winner or a loser.
Yep. Sounds like we got a caller.
No, it's actually just reminding me it's time for our podcast. So I just didn't silence.
We started early tonight because I was trying to do a double dip here. So interesting.
So that's the party.
And now you are challenged with this creating the election for the delegates within the party.
Exactly. So now one of the things, one of our duties is during the presidential election year, we have to choose delegates. Now, before you go too deep into it, let me start off with a little plug. So the Republican Party has actually put a couple of ads in the newspaper to announce this. That's right.
And the announcement
that's why we're on here today, because this is part of our advertising.
Absolutely. So this goes out to, if you're a registered Republican, and
as of December 31st, 2023.
I was going there, so you got me.
Thank you.
But you cannot just say, well, I want to vote Republican in the primary now. It's too late. You should have already been a registered Republican in order to vote in this primary coming up to select which Republican you want to advance. Now, in doing so, we also have to select.
Well, don't conflate those two things.
I'm not. Right.
It's really the same line.
Yep.
Right. The same line in the sand is you had to be registered before December 31st to vote in the if you wanted to change your party, you couldn't change your party now and vote in the primary. You had to have been registered as a Republican in 2023 by the end of 2023, December 31st. This is what we're talking about now is how do we select delegates?
The people that represent the bulk of the party,
going to all the way up to actually choose the delegates that go to elect our president.
Yep. So and that's the big thing that you see at the end. Now, this is like, for me, this is where they got all the flags on the stage, and they're coming forward, and they're all holding up their delegation from what state they're from, and they're all wearing their red, white, and blue hats and so belt buckles and all that stuff, and they're going, woo, 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 and they're voting for the person that you most selected.
And where that comes from is it starts all the way down here at the county level.
Which people don't realize that.
No. So, I mean, at least in the Republican Party, I'm not sure how the Democratic Party functions in this way. I know they have delegates and somehow they choose, but
super delegates.
They have these things called super delegates that we don't have in the Republican Party, where they can kind of like super delegates can actually override the regular.
You mean we're for the people, by the people?
Yeah. Well,
of the people.
Well, I mean, that's again, I don't want to get it too far into
mudslinging.
Yeah, because I don't want. This is not about mudslinging. This is about educating people.
So yeah, so
again, I don't want to get into there so much. But ours, what we do is we say, all right. So tomorrow morning.
Yep.
Tomorrow morning, we are going to show up at the fairgrounds, at the Home and Garden Center at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Is registration 10:30 will be the meeting starts. We'll have about an hour and a half of people coming in and getting themselves set up and ready to go. And
now for that meeting, we still have to have a quorum of all of our registered officers.
Well,
correct?
No, it's a who shows up from the Republican Party. This is all members of the Republican Party who are registered to vote.
Okay.
As registered Republicans as of December 31st, 2023. The rule actually states the year prior to a presidential election year, but that you only choose delegates during a presidential election.
So let me ask you a question. How many registered Republicans do we have in Meade County?
The pool was like a little over 11,700.
And how many actually show up to vote in a primary?
It will be lucky if we get 15% probably.
So you're telling
for the primary, and tomorrow will be even less.
So
tomorrow,
if you watch
will
TV
probably only be about
and you don't like
people.
what's happening on the TV screen about what's happening in our country, and you're in the 80% that doesn't actually go out in a primary or in and don't just wait for the presidential election, go to the regular elections, because that population, if you would have taken all of the counties that voted majority Republican, and they would have had more than 50% of their actual voter population show up based on the numbers as the counties, you would have taken out all the Louisvilles and Lexingtons of the state that won with Democratic votes. Our total populace of all of our registered voters in the rural areas would have actually taken down the big cities that took us to town.
Yeah, Kentucky. Vote. Kentucky is a now and has been for a couple of years now a Republican registered state. So we have more Republicans registered in the state of Kentucky than we do Democrats or any others for that matter.
Well, I only say that because I'm going to be a big advocate. I don't care what party you are. Show up and vote.
I mean, you need to vote. I agree with you. I mean, you need to vote, especially in your primaries. When the thing is that everybody's going to show up and vote in the general election.
Sure.
And you're going to have, in the state of Kentucky, probably almost everybody's going to show up. Not almost everybody, but 60% plus are going to show up and vote for Donald Trump, right? I mean, that's
is that your prediction?
That's my prediction.
Okay.
Yeah. So Donald Trump is already our nominee. There's no reason to think that he would not be so in Kentucky.
Should I throw my hat in now for a write-in? Can we win a write-in? No, I'm just kidding. I'm teasing.
I don't know why you do this to me.
Hey, I'm just saying, if you want a country to be great, vote for Lake. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke, folks. I'm teasing. Go ahead, Mark.
So anyway, for the delegates tomorrow, we'll show up at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
Start doing registrations. We'll finish registration around 10:30. Don't worry if you show up right at 10:30 or if you show up a minute or two after. We will continue to register as long as you're there to register. But we want to start the meeting promptly at 10:30. So try not to get there right at 10:30. Try to be there at 10 o'clock at the latest, so that you can get registered and be ready. So, and then what we'll do is that now the way it works is the local party, the Meade County Republican Party, has selected delegates, 6 delegates, and up to 6 alternates. Now we'd like to have 6 and 6 to make sure that we have our proper representation. And the way it works is the 6 delegates and the 6 alternates will travel to the convention, the district convention, the 2nd district convention, which is in Bowling Green. And that's just like a couple of weeks after. So it's just a couple of weeks away.
Yeah.
So we'll have all the dates and everything there for tomorrow. So anybody that is chosen as a delegate, we'll also select people to be on 4 committees. So you have like the nominations committee at the district and state. Now these delegates that we select from Meade County, these are Meade County Republicans. They will go to the district, represent Meade County in the District 2 and the state. And this year, the state is going to be in Somerset, Kentucky, which is
so. Before you get further higher up the chain,
well,
what I want to understand though is that these delegates who are selected by the people, the registered voters of the Republican Party, these are the people that are carrying your voice forward in the final selection.
That's right. Within the party.
This
is this group of people, these delegates.
This is the electoral process.
It's the electoral process, exactly. So in Kentucky, we will have, Meade County has 6 delegates.
Right.
And then we choose 6 alternates all of them will go
Sure.
to the conventions. And the reason you have alternates is because things happen on those days, right? Where you show up, and if you excuse me, if you have somebody that's a delegate doesn't show up for whatever reason, it's not like you all travel together as a group. You're responsible to get yourself there. Now usually a state or a county like ours, we tend to come together, a caravan down and stuff. So we know our delegates are going to be there before we even start. But it's not always the case. And then sometimes you get there and somebody had car trouble or something like that. So then they would go to the list of alternates. And so their credentials committee will then go to they're in charge of who's voting and who can and who can't vote as delegates. So if you show up there and you're listed as a delegate, you will register in and vote and be a voter. If you are not, then you're an alternate. Then you'll kind of sit in the back. Now, what they'll do is if only 5 of our delegates show up, they'll go to the list of alternates, go to the top one on the list, pull that name and put them in place. If they're not there, if they haven't registered in, then they will go back and go to the next one and then the next one. So right now, this is one thing that we're kind of struggling with because right now we only have 2 alternates listed.
Oh yeah.
So
so you got to come
on
out
our nomination committee. So if there's somebody out there that wants to go and be a part of this process, we have 4 openings right now for
tomorrow
alternates.
is your big day.
Yeah,
9 o'clock.
What we'll do is whatever we decide on tomorrow will be final.
In the immortal words of my sales associate, actually, I want to call her, what is it? What do we have like 5 different names for Hannah. Hannah says, be there or be square.
Yeah.
When she books our sales meetings on the Outlook calendar, she's like, be there or be square. But anyway.
And so that's that's kind of an oldie but goodie. So anyway, so what we'll do tomorrow is we'll show up and we'll have a slate already selected. Now, if for some reason that slate doesn't get enough votes, right? It just takes 50 plus 1%, or 50% plus 1, straight majority. If the slate is selected for both the delegates and our representatives on the committees,
right?
Then that's pretty much it. We will certify the chair and the secretary certify the results. And we forward it on to Frankfurt, then the Republican Party, it is, Frankfurt, and they will then have our list of delegates and stuff listed for us.
Very cool. So that's all taking place tomorrow at 9 o'clock at the.
Registration starts at 9 a.m. at the fairgrounds at the Home and Garden Center here in Brandenburg.
That's the air-conditioned building with the nice bathrooms that David Pace put together.
That's right.
Well, the fair board, I said. But David always talks about the nicest bathrooms at any fairgrounds. But shameless plug, David.
Hey, I mean, they should be proud of those.
They should.
I mean, they are nice. They're
I'm not bagging the fair board. I have no reason to do that.
No.
I think it's just a good plug because they have the cleanest bathrooms and all. And it is the air conditioned. It's the cool building you go to when it's really hot at the fairgrounds.
I was just going by. Hey, I know David would not take the credit for those bathrooms.
He doesn't take credit for anything.
No,
I know.
It's the fair board. It's the team, the
and
people,
the volunteers. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Spoken like a true David.
Yeah. So he. So anyway. So tomorrow morning. That's what we're going to do. We're going to get together.
Good.
Whoever's there. That will be the voting.
Now, will that take place of the party meeting, or are you still having a party meeting this month?
Right now the party meeting is still on for Monday. It will be at 7 o'clock.
The third Monday of every month.
It's always the third Monday of each month. Now, occasionally we might, for weather or overlapping items, we might move it out, but usually we do that. Try to do it a week or so out. So, I didn't know we were stopping so early.
You said.
I did, but I wanted to talk some more.
Oh, go ahead.
I got some other stuff. Don't
go
cut
ahead.
me off, man.
I'm not, man.
Because this kind of went longer than I anticipated. So, anyhow,
that's because I asked too many questions.
No, it's not right. It flowed well. So, but this is how we do our delegates. This is how we select our delegates. Tomorrow, we will select the delegates from Meade County that will go to the county committee or the district. And they will select a group of delegates that will represent from the second district up to the state, and that will be, and that state delegation. We will it'll go on and we'll add on until we get to the state. So the county is represented at both the same delegates represent the county at both the district and the state. And then at the state level, we will have a slate that will be put forth. And anyone that wanted to be considered for a national delegate to represent Kentucky in the national RNC national committee was if they can, all you have to do is submit a letter saying, hey, I'm interested and this is why I think you should select me. Sure. And then those go to the nominations committee, and the nominations committee will then put together a slate based off of that, and then the slate will then be voted on. That slate will be voted on by the state delegates. The delegates, all of us from the county that goes to the state will have a vote.
Very cool.
Now, let's say tomorrow we get in there and nobody and we don't get a majority for that slate. It doesn't just mean that we don't have anybody represent. We will turn around and then take additional nominations, either for another slate or for another or for an additional slate.
Okay.
Let's say we get in there tomorrow and somebody says, hey, I've changed my mind, I don't want to be on there. Well, we will do an amendment to the slate. So that's one reason we get there early, because we want to
that's what the alternates are for.
Well, that's why we want to do some, we want to make sure. So so if tomorrow morning we get in there and we have 4 more people who want to be alternates to go, we can, it's not like the nomination is completely closed. We can actually add those 4 people tomorrow.
Okay.
We will just basically do nominations for those 4 spots.
Very cool.
And I'm sure there'll be people that'll come out that may say, hey, I'd like to be a part of that. Well, this is your chance. You, as an alternate, you won't be guaranteed that you'll have a vote as a delegate, but you could. And number 2, you'll be able to still go and take part in the process. You'll be able to see the process and understand. And then next time you'll understand how to do it. I mean, the first time I went as an alternate.
Okay.
And so first couple times actually. So it's a good way to learn the process and get to meet some of the folks that take care of it. We've just had a leadership change on the state level, so there's a lot of new people. I'm going to be meeting a lot of new faces, and so you're nominated to be on the delegate a delegate. I'm nominated to be a delegate. Ruth Goddard is nominated. Let's see. I
think Gary Chapman is an
alternate, and Tom Goddard is an alternate, I believe.
And there could be more tomorrow.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
I can't remember the name. I was trying to get the list.
It really depends on you, the people that watch this later tonight or later tomorrow. But tomorrow is too late. So you kind of want to. If
you're not down there at 9 a.m. Yeah. So if you're not down there by 10:30.
Meh.
So it's
now it could. I would tell you that if you did come in running like you were trying to crash a wedding at 10:35, you could still get in.
Maybe.
But wait, I'm here.
Once we call the meeting to order, we will close it.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So I intend to call the meeting to order at 10:30. If there's people still registering at 10:30,
then you'll slow the roll.
We'll just wait. We'll wait it out. There's no reason to be in a rush. We have until.
So that person
12,
walking in at 10:30 go real slow.
We made sure that we had people. We made sure that we had the facility available and everything for plenty of time. So
very good.
This is the only business for tomorrow. So we might do some announcements and do some meet and greet time or whatever. But that's pretty much we're going to be done. We should be done by noon tomorrow morning. Easy. I don't expect it to even go past really 11:30. But we'll see. We should be done by noon 30.
So what else is going on in the Meade County?
So I wanted to talk a little bit about there's been some stuff going around and talking about our podcast was actually using another podcast last week one day by
you don't have to give him a plug right now.
Well, I mean,
wait till we do the counter and have a conversation.
He's going to be so we're
hopefully we can get him on and have the conversation.
Well, he's been on before,
but absolutely.
So so next week, we're going to have Nancy Tate wants to come on.
Great.
I talked to her today, and she's going to come on next week. And
be nice if we get Brett.
I don't know if she's going to be in person or if it's going to be in
Frankfurt.
Well, because the session is ending, but there's still some other meetings and stuff that's going on. So So I don't know if she'll be able to be here, but she's going to try, I think. But we'll definitely have her. She'll definitely make herself available to be on in Skype or Skype. Oh my gosh, in Teams or what have you. So anyway, so she'll be on, and she wants to kind of explain the process, because some of the information that was coming up in that, I'm not going to say it's wrong. But there's more reasons than there's
a lot of changes that happen before you see what you see on the website.
So I mean, one of the things that was brought up is that, when if a bill is put forth and somebody sponsors that bill, it's they're not necessarily the person that authored the bill, right? Mm-hmm. There's someone who actually wrote the bill. Now here's the thing: sometimes you look at it and you agree to language, right? As I understand it,
especially
sometimes you agree to this language, say, hey, we're going to put this bill forth, and this is what it says. Well, then when you actually go to read the bill is actually
there's got layers put forth, like onions.
Yeah, right. And so what happens is that somebody still has the opportunity before it's filed to add another a couple sentences in there.
Yep. And the bigger part of the bill is the purposeful part of the bill.
Yeah.
That's why somebody will take the sponsor. It's the littler pieces that get hung up.
Yeah. I mean, you got 40. There was like a 48-page bill. It started out as 45 pages.
Well, the question was brought up, so I'm going to pick on this a little bit. The question was brought up. We're doing a little bit of digging because you know how much I love it when somebody uses the LIAR word. So, and we're gonna get some facts that go with how the website works and the true intentions of one's actions versus all the actions of all the players.
Because what's happening on this other podcast that they used our quote from one of our guests on, what's happening over there is they're telling you why. Again, it's almost like when you're watching CNN, because it's like they're not telling you what happened and that this was in the bill. They're saying this is why they did it.
And I'm like,
oh my gosh, that is not. They made it sound like every person's like some malicious, evil person.
For this bill, look, I think I was upset about that portion of the bill. It's the greater good of the bill.
We all agree
that portion should never been in that bill.
We all agree that should not have been in the bill. As a Republican, it should not have been in the bill. It was.
But that's not enough when you look at the greater good of what the bill did.
The co-sponsor had something to do with that is not completely accurate.
I think that's where the other campaign is having the conversation.
It might be accurate. I don't know.
Well, that's why we're doing the research.
So that's why, I mean, and I've researched this pretty extensively today as to what happened, and that's one of the things that Nancy wants to come on and talk about.
Yeah, well, that's why we're not throwing any names out there right now, because we want to educate. When it goes to the website, is it in fact how many layers of changes occur, even though it's got somebody's name? Because that's a data form field.
I mean, it could be changed. It could be changed before it's filed. You could read it, and then it could have, and then somebody say, "Hey, let's add this in there." Well, I've read it.
Yeah.
And a change was made, and then they don't really have to even present it back to me to say, hey, do you want to reread this?
Right.
Well, I've already read it. Why would I want to reread it? Did you make changes? Right. So they don't even have to tell me that.
Yeah.
And then they can put it forth. Now, I don't know if that's what happened or what, but that's at least one possibility.
Not picking battles, but it's when the LIA...
Again, I don't want to go into the whole thing, because
no.
I don't want to make it look like I'm supporting this person or that person or what have you. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, but I want to talk about whether or not as people on podcasts and media and things like that, how should we, I mean, this is what we talked about. This is one of the reasons that you bought the Messenger.
That's right.
To get educate. To kind of like, we want to educate people about what the process is, not add confusion and
the campaigns are going to attack each other. That's common ground.
Let them attack each other. But I mean,
we just want to provide.
But I understand.
Never lose your clarity in the search for accuracy.
Yeah,
never lose clarity in the search. Remember,
exactly. So you should always strive to be as accurate as possible.
That's right.
And if you're not, then be willing to say, "Hey, we're." Be willing to say, hey, we're not.
Now, to that credit, I do believe that that podcaster did come back and specify that. He said, just own it and say, hey, look, that's not what I wanted.
I mean, there's more to it.
But the way you spin it and then you throw in that language, it's that's where I come in with the hammer and say, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he said that, but he did it to spin it.
Yeah, he
didn't say it to say,
to educate.
There's no benefit of the doubt. It's like, oh, you're a liar. And I'm like, no, not necessarily. You have to understand how this bill, because I don't think he has
lying is to deceive. Lying is to deceive.
Exactly. And it's like, I don't think that's what it was, because you know, this. Anyway, I don't know. I want to get some more answers myself, like you said. But that's coming up next week. So if you have anything out there, you know, if y'all want to really get into how the bills are done and have a good understanding of how, you know, when they're filed, how the amendment process goes.
Don't care which representative or senator you're looking at.
Yeah, that's right.
This is an
next
important
week is to
fact.
educate people.
This is an important fact to know how this process works. And honestly, that's the politics, right?
Yeah.
You have all intentions of getting a better thing served, but you want my vote. Well, you need to make sure it has this in it or that in it. And it may not be as big and important for the whole greater good of everybody, but this one's important to me in my district, and this one's important to me in my district. And so there's these little ads that go in there to get the full support of the whole, which is for the state of Kentucky, which benefits all residents. But that's where I think the complications come in, and that's the part I think we need to educate on, because you know, did you make a good political move with fellow Republicans, or did you not? You know, and anyway. Next week.
So we'll talk about it a little bit more next week. We'll have more information, like you said, and you know, we can go. I mean, so I wanted to just kind of make sure we had a little bit of a preview of that, what's coming up next week before we enter the podcast. So, but you know, really and truly, I think, hey, next week we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to, or at least get another step towards there, because it may we may still not know. But I think we should really think about think about what we're putting out there before we put it out there, and before we say it so matter of factly. So anyway, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Here we are. You know, again, Steve, thanks for the use of the studio. I mean, I know we pay for it, but you know, it's an awesome job that you're doing putting this together.
It's available if you need rent the space. My plug for me for the Messenger Studios. So we have rate sheets. You can come in and see us here at the Messenger Studios and be able to do more of this for your own organization,
your own cause and
absolutely
pleasure. So,
but I'm glad you got the message out. We're glad to support your advertising efforts, and hopefully you get a great turnout tomorrow for this event.
It'd be awesome if we can get as many. Our goal is always to get as many Republicans there as possible.
Absolutely,
we want to have as much representation. We want to have the discussions, and we want to have even debate if it's necessary. But we want to have good, solid debate so that we come up with the right things that represent the most people as much as possible. So thank you all for coming out and listening to us tonight, whether it's live or if it's later on in the evening. But get out and don't forget to get out and vote. I would love to see 40, 50, 60% of people come out and vote in every election. I think that's it's an important piece, and it shows that we care about our government and our future. So,
one last shameless plug for me. You see those Easter baskets on the table? We're going to be announcing the winners of those Easter baskets on Monday's podcast, and we will tell each one of the winners who submitted their coloring. And let me tell you, there's some fancy colorers out there, and I'm just excited to get to look at that with the staff on Monday as we prepare next week's paper for you. And while you're waiting for all that exciting news, you don't have to wait for it on paper. You can get it at meadecountyky.com, and you can get fresh news right off the presses as it comes in.
I know I do.
Yeah, and you can get and it'll show up on Facebook or our website. So check it out. Have a great night. Mark, it's back to you. Throw it away.
All right. Well, hey, again, tomorrow morning, registered Republicans can be out there to vote for your delegates. And Monday evening, we'll have our 7 p.m. regular scheduled meeting over at the HQ. For more information, call 270-945-3418. Have a good night.